Well, hey everybody, we are at the Talbot Interfaith Shelter with Jamie Dingler, Marketing and Development Director. How's it going, Jamie?
It's going great.
Good to see you, and thanks for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being here. This is amazing.
Can you give us a little bit of a backstory about how this shelter started and what it was that got this place where it is today?
Sure, yeah. So we're actually coming to the end of our 10th year of existence. We started in, it was a concerned group of citizens that came together in the summer of 2008 and led by a woman named Evelyn Sedlak. And they just saw that there was a problem, there was a need here, and just wanted to figure out what they could do to help solve the problem. And so it ended up being a group of religious communities, from all over the spectrum.
Wow.
That came together and hosted a rotating shelter during the winter months. So they would go, a couple months at one church. The month of December was always the synagogue because they knew how busy the churches are in December.
Right.
Even at one point, people would stay at the Ag Center for a week or two, and it was only during the winter months, unfortunately, because of fire code regulations, we could only serve 5 people at a time.
Wow.
So, that was really challenging for us. We couldn't help as many people as we'd like, and we didn't have a permanent location. We could only serve people during the winter months. Our folks had to leave at 7 o'clock in the morning because they were staying in somebody's place of business.
Right.
Those places had to remain functional, so they had to leave, which was so heartbreaking for our volunteers. We did this for 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
In year 6, we were at the Third Haven Meeting House, and one of our volunteers there said, hey, my wife is selling her bed and breakfast. Would you be interested in purchasing it? Right around the same time, we had an overnight volunteer who was called our executive director one day after he had to let people out into the street with nowhere to go at 7 o'clock in the morning in the middle of winter, and he was beside himself. He said, "You have got to get a permanent facility. I can't live with doing this."
Right.
And so we invited him. Our executive director invited him to come and look at this place, and he offered to put up half of the purchase price.
Wow.
For the property.
Oh my gosh.
So we then had to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and get a permit because this was zoned as we could have a shelter here with a special exception permit. So we had to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, get a special exception permit. That was quite a contentious time. I'm sure many people watching remember we were in the news quite a lot during that
Right.
time. There was a lot of opposition to us being here, but I think in part because we had already had so much support from various areas of the community because we were operating in these religious communities all
Right.
across the community, and so they came out in droves to support us at the hearings.
That's great.
We did end up getting our permit. During that time, we just kind of put horse blinders on and started helping people. And what has come from that is this really incredible program. That's not just a shelter. We have off-site transitional housing as well, and we've developed this program which is called S4, Shelter, Stability, Support, Success, which is designed to take people from homelessness all the way to self-sufficiency.
That's great.
Yeah, so we've been here since November of 2014, going strong, and our program grows every year, and it's really incredible to see the kind of magic that happens here.
Right. Yeah.
So folks can't come up to the door and ask for shelter. We have limited space, so they have to call in. Usually they're referred by another local service agency or another shelter service in the 5-county area that doesn't have availability. They speak with our operations manager, Fran Duran, on the phone. They give her some information for a background check, and she'll do a phone interview. Once she runs the background check, if we have space available, then they might be invited in for an in-person interview. If that's the case, if it's a family, every member of the family must be present during the interview. They're looking for not just the answers to their questions, but the interaction between family members, whether it seems like they're willing to follow rules, whether it seems like they will be able to take direction, and you know, kind of take responsibility for themselves, because this is a long-term process. It takes a lot of dedication. You have to be working the program in order to stay with us. Once they come in, get a week or two just to acclimatize, because there are a lot of rules here. There's a lot of structure. You have to do chores. You have to be here at a certain time.
Right.
You're getting used to, you know, being in the house. You know, you have a room, you can close the door, you have your own bathroom, but you're still in a house with other people who are strangers.
Yeah.
So they get a week or two to kind of get used to just being here. Once that time is over, then they meet with Fran. Fran assesses their situation, figures out what their needs are, what services they need. It could be anything from, you know, folks don't have any form of identification, to, you know, needing help through social services or food stamps or childcare, needing a GED. There are just a myriad of ways in which every single person's, you know, situation is very different.
Right.
So Fran puts a plan together for them. She helps them, you know, she tells them where to go, who to talk to, what to fill out, what to bring. She'll even drive you there, but she's not going to do anything for you. You have to do everything for yourself.
That's great.
Once people get to a point where they are financially, emotionally, physically, mentally stable, they've saved up they've saved up enough for a security deposit and half a month's rent.
Okay.
And they've sat down with Fran and put a realistic budget together. Then if we have a transitional apartment available, then they'll be invited to move into our transitional housing. Okay. There they start off paying about $250 to $300 a month, and we subsidize the remainder.
Okay.
Over time, their portion increases until they're able to take over the entire amount, at which point they still stay with us for 6 months to a year to make sure that that's sustainable. Wow. Before they graduate from our program.
That's
so
great.
Throughout this whole process, they're also required to attend several educational programs. So we have classes in parenting, budgeting, health classes. We have a class called Getting Ahead in a Just Getting By World. That's all about poverty, the root causes of poverty, societal factors that kind of keep people from being able to get out of poverty. Teaches you how to make the most of the resources that are available to you, but once you become more self-sufficient, how to start weaning off the services and become, you know, even more independent and self-sufficient. We do serve folks who are in recovery. They must have 6 months sober, they must be in a program, and they must allow Fran to communicate with the program. Okay. We have, for those folks, we have supplemental course called Staying Quit, which is a relapse prevention program. Okay. We also have anger management. Fran also does mediation if mediation is necessary. And she's always looking for, you know, as folks come through our program, she notices trends that come up with our guests, and so she figures out ways to accommodate those trends by incorporating even more educational opportunities. Wow. The goal is to empower our guests with every tool, every bit of knowledge, everything they could possibly need, so that once they leave our program, they can stay successful and remain self-sufficient and have everything they need to, just go off and be fruitful.
That's great. So this is really so much more than just a shelter.
It is, yeah. It's just really incredible, but this is where it starts in our shelter. Mm-hmm. because it's a home, because it's warm, because there's a living room, because there's a backyard your kids can play in, it really contributes so much to the success of the guests. You know, the stress of bringing your child to a homeless shelter, like I can't imagine, and to know that they're in a home and have that stability is huge. Right. You know, you see within days, you can see a difference in the guests, that they feel comfortable. You can see their confidence level growing. They have their own bathroom. They can take a shower whenever they want. They can do their own laundry. They can close a door if they need privacy. It's all just about, you know, restoring dignity and confidence and hope, and giving people, you know, making them feel empowered to be able to move forward and succeed.
So something that has really stuck out to me is that dinner is always served at the same time every night.
Correct.
And usually a volunteer brings dinner or provides dinner.
Right. Yeah. Dinner is provided by volunteers, whether it's they come and cook, or they cook at home and bring it, or they bring in from a restaurant. We also have several restaurants who once a month donate dinner for our guests. That's which great. Is really, really neat. Dinner is, everybody has to be back in the house by 5:15. Okay. Dinner is at 5:30, and everyone is required to sit down at the dinner table together every night, which sounds like a crazy rule, but it is the best part of the day, and it has turned into such an important part of our program. You know, this is where our guests get to know each other, where they share their experiences. You know, whether, you know, if somebody goes to a service provider and this is the experience they had, or they went to a job interview and this is what happened. We have experienced moms and new moms at the table, so the experienced moms give the new moms pointers, and we've had family units form at the table, and this is where our guests kind of form their support network with one another. Wow. It's also where, if there are things that need to be addressed with the house, it's where Fran and Julie can discuss things with the guests that need to be discussed. But it really is, you know, I encourage anyone to come and sit and have a meal with us, because it really is, it's such a great time of day, and you know, the guests think of it as family dinner. And that's a big part of our program is fellowship. So not just fellowship with other guests, but we have more than 450 volunteers from all over the community. So we really do rely on, the majority of our funding comes from individual donors. We have an incredibly generous community, and we've been so fortunate to have the support of so many different people throughout the community. So individual donations. We have a business partnership plan, so we work with a lot of local businesses who support us. We work on getting grant funding from local charitable foundations, local organizations such as Women and Girls Fund, United Way, things like that. Because they are here and they are invested in the community and they see what we're doing. So, but yeah, that's what we thrive on. That's what we survive on, and it's how we are able to run our program the way that we run it, and we find it to be very successful. Because we want to bring awareness to the shelter, you had an idea that I think is great, which is coming by and taking a tour of the shelter. So tell us a little bit about that, and how can we set that? How can somebody set that up if they'd like to take a tour and eventually become a volunteer or a donor? Yeah, so we always encourage people to come and see where we are, see who we're helping, see where we're located. So if you want to have a tour, you can contact me. I think Justin's going to put right here, contact me to set that up, and we'll schedule a time that's convenient for you to come in. We'll walk you through the house, show you around. You'll get a feel for just the warmth of the environment, and then we can sit down and talk a little bit more about our program. And if there's a way in which you feel inspired to help, you know, we're always looking to make new connections and just tell people about our program. We also have a program called the TIS Ambassadors, where people sit down for an hour to an hour and a half. They learn about the history of the organization, learn about in depth about our S4 program, go through frequently asked questions, and so that when they're out in the community and they're talking to their friends and family about Talbot Interfaith Shelter and why they're involved, and people ask questions, they know how to answer them. It's just another way that we try to kind of spread the word about what we're doing. So if anyone's interested in becoming a TIS ambassador, you know, contact me again.
That's great. That's great. And given that this is such a community-driven shelter
Really is.
and organization, you know, I think it's just so important for everybody to realize the great things that are happening here. So, well, I really appreciate you doing this today, and we're gonna share this video to as many people as possible, just to bring as much awareness as we can to the Talbot Interfaith Shelter.
That's
so,
awesome. Yeah,
Jamie,
thank you so
thanks for
much.
being a part of Justin Ryan's Small Town Spotlight.
Thank you for having
And
us. This is really cool.
I can't wait for the video to come out.
I know,
So.
me too.
All
I'm
right.
excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rise again.